on this Sunday evening. With me tonight, we have my co-hosts, Peter Allison.
Good evening, everyone.
And Mark Canty.
Hi there.
And our special guest tonight, Josh Hicks.
Hello.
Okay, Josh, for everybody who doesn't know who you are, what do you do? What's your thing? What do you do? Who are you?
I'm a cartoonist and filmmaker from Cardiff. I work in animation. I make comic books, and I'm currently I'm kickstarting a card game with Tinkerbot Games. So I do a little bit of everything.
So many feathers to the proverbial cap, then.
Yeah, three to four feathers.
Big feathers, little feathers.
Two big ones, one little one with no plumes on it, just the stick.
So that's a lot of sort of quite interesting sort of things there. So the filmmaking, what's that all about?
Well, I've been making comics since like 2014, I think. Started off doing short stories, and now I'm doing like graphic novels. My day job throughout all of that was working for a small like independent animation studio, and doing that I got to like co-direct some short films and some music videos, and I'm directing a couple of shorts at the moment. So they tend to be animated shorts or long graphic novels. Those are kind of my two main zones. So making a film at the moment with BBC Wales and Film Cymru, written by my friend Johan Morris, who made comics with quite a lot, and he actually does like the scores for a lot of the Doctor Who audiobooks from Big Finish.
Oh, right, okay.
He's a huge Doctor Who guy. So I published his comic, Big Ol, which is like a documentary comedy comic about a show like Doctor Who, about the making of a show that's quite similar to Doctor Who.
But legally distinct from.
Legally distinct from Doctor Who, yeah. There's about the show's called Big Ol. It's about a wizard. I think it like ran for one season, and all the tapes were destroyed. So it's like trying to figure out what happened over that 1 year. So he's written a film. I'm directing it, and we've got Craig Roberts and Bill Nye in it.
No way.
It should be out next year. Yeah, so that's exciting. So that's kind of what I'm doing on the film.
How do you direct an animated film? Because it's quite different to a traditional director that to point the camera that way.
Yeah. So everything's different. With the one with Johan, because he's an artist as well. He's done a lot. It's going to look a lot more like a Johan film than like a film of like my comic work. So like he's done the character design, he wrote the script, he's going to be doing the music. He's doing a lot of these like key images for like the animation. So when I come in, I'm kind of like wrangling all the parties. We've got a producer, Nia, who's great as well. So she does a lot of like the logistics, but I'm just kind of trying to keep an eye over all of it. And also with animation, a huge amount of the direction is just drawing the storyboards. You know, if you've got tight storyboards, really all you're trying to do is then keep like the ship on course. You know, so
I suppose the storyboards then tie into the key frames, which allows you to try and
exactly.
see that things are actually following between and not taking a left turn somewhere.
Yeah, so there's a lot. It's like directing like in slow motion basically, because you don't have, deadlines are always tight, but you don't have that thing of like being on a set and like people asking you a million questions, you've got to answer that second, or you've like wasted the day. It's like that, but it's just really drawn out, so you've got time to think about stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, it sounds like you're more like an overseer in a sense.
Yeah, like on these films, I'm not even like, I'm doing some drawing for like the act, but like I'm not gonna be animating myself. I'll be drawing the backgrounds probably.
So I suppose your job is to stay out of the nitty gritty and keep an eye on what people are doing, so that they're not getting too far out of whack.
Yeah, you just want to kind of like, make sure things are. We set out to do something. We try and nail that, and if problems come out, try and think of like good solutions to work.
Yeah, because imagine like the story. Yeah, because imagine like in this very much for an animation, like the storyboards acts like a guide like to go from A to B to C to D and so on. So as long as they're kind of hitting each of those images, how you get there is a bit more flexible, as long as they stick to the core idea.
Yeah, and you can do there's loads of different ways to approach like storyboarding for animation. So you can go. I'm doing another little animated project as well alongside that, and that is I'm doing everything in terms of like I've written it. I'm doing the concept art, and I'm not animating it. We get animators to animate it, but that looks a lot more like my work. And so the storyboards for that are very tight and quite close to like how the final thing will look. Whereas with Johan's, with the film with Johan, Spectre of the Bear, that one is called. They're a bit looser, so they give us, the range of like what the character is going to be going through in the shot, and you can figure out whether you're going to break it down into little movements or if you're going to be a bit more like macro about it and let the animators play a little bit more. But it's all about like composition and pacing, and then you can just let the animators run free. Sorry, go.
So when you move from comics and that sort of thing to animation, is there a difference in how you obviously, with comics, you can get away with a certain amount by just choosing the point at which you're drawing things. But obviously, if your character design doesn't quite work out in animation, at some point you're going to have a knee through a knee or something, aren't you? I suppose.
Yeah, you need to think. You can't fudge stuff as much in anime. I mean, there's ways. It depends on your style. Like there's ways to fudge things. They're really cool, like experimental, like kind of sketchier animations where you can get away with a lot, and you can get a lot across with just a few lines,
Or if you just don't care.
Or if you don't care, which you can get away with a lot then as well.
There's a few animated shows I think that show that particular attitude, don't they?
Yeah, so I was like, and obviously these are low budget shorts as well. These are because the Spectre of the Bear one has been funded by Film Cymru here in Wales, so they fund every year like a number of shorts to be made, and then they'll go on BBC Wales, and then on iPlayer for I think about 5 years. So you're trying to you've got to really be aim high and try and work within your limitations, So the worst thing is to overshoot and end up with something that's like half done. So we're really trying to play to our strengths. Hopefully we do that. We're really early days on animation on that one. We're just part of the way through, but it's exciting. Getting to work with those actors, and there's a great cast supporting them as well. And
cool.
Just seeing the animators bring the lines to life is amazing.
Does the design, your design of the characters change when you kind of realize who's going to be providing the voice of the character?
Yeah, so the other project I'm working on, which I haven't announced yet, is based on characters that exist. So that's locked in, and you try and cast for the character. Yeah, Spectre of the Bear, they're all original characters, and so Johan did tweak a little bit once we found out who was going to play who, but largely they are to the original drawings, and we did kind of cast to the archetypes. And also what was good is we didn't want to make every character look like the actor, do you know what I mean? So you want to try and get the characters to look like they're of the same vibe that the actors bring in,
So you want them to play the character, not themselves to some extent.
Yeah. So Bill Nye doesn't look like Bill Nye. But he's got the sense of Bill Nye, yeah.
I suppose it's a bit like not stunt casting in live action, isn't it? Where you change your character to suit a particular actor, because
exactly,
it'll get attention, but then you have to rewrite the script around that character.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid.
So can you say what you're working on at the moment? Are you able to kind of give us some idea of the stories, especially that one that's just been awarded?
Yeah, so the Spectre of the Bear thing, that's the film with Bill Nye, with Johan, Craig. That's it's like a 10-minute animated short about is basically a conspiracy thriller comedy about crisps. This guy gets involved in a crisp comes back on the market that's been away for years and years, and one brave man stands steadfast in his belief that they never existed in the first place, and it's all just like a marketing ploy. And he kind of just goes deep down a rabbit hole of paranoia
Do you know what? Right,
Really
it's
quite
funny
true.
you mentioned that. I am sure that Watsits were called something else at one point in time. In
There we go.
my brain, right, growing up, Watsits used to be called something else, or maybe in Northern Ireland. But it's just like, and people
Yeah.
going, "You're
Possibly.
like you're insane." I was like, I remember the day that I walked in and went, "Huh? These aren't called such and such anymore. They're called Watsits. What's this now?" And I was just
Well,
like,
I don't want to break the what's its thing to you, but it's likely. Was it just more likely you had the off-brand what's its?
I don't know, but in my mind, literally, as a kid, I just sort of kind of I remember the shop I was in,
Yeah.
and I remember picking up these crisps and going, "These aren't called Watsits anymore. No, these aren't called this anymore. They're called
It
Watsits."
definitely happens because that's where the script came from.
Yeah.
Johan would not believe that pom bears existed, and I don't know. He's a little bit older than me. But he's not much. He's not. He's maybe a few years older than me, and I like remember pom bears existing when I was a child. So he was wrong there, but it was a seed that we've now nurtured into a short film.
There's loads of stuff like the Mandela effect, they call it, isn't it? Where you like you're
there's
determined that certain things are definitely right, and then you're like, but it isn't what it was and stuff. So
the Genie movie that didn't exist.
yeah. And it's mad, or you sort of you've sort of.
Oh, the Highlander sequels, they don't exist.
Do you know, I've never seen Highlander.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's
I used to
actually,
love the Mortal Kombat, the terrible first Mortal Kombat. movie.
Okay.
yeah, oh, by Paul W. Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah, and Christoph Lambert.
Yeah.
Is in both,
Yeah.
isn't he? And
What a
that was
weird
where
choice
I
for Raiden.
tried to get in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
just
loved him though, man.
yeah. What a really weird choice for a Japanese thunder god or Chinese thunder god. It's just sort
Yeah,
of
The French Thunder God.
yeah. It's just sort of bizarre. Yeah.
Oh, to
Actually,
be fair, the whole films are bizarre. But yeah,
Mm.
very strange casting in that.
the new Mortal Kombat's actually quite good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. You know.
Yeah.
I think I stand by that first one. The second one is horrific.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The first one, though,
Annihilation is it? Is that one? Is it Total War? Is it Mortal Kombat?
even
Annihilation?
and like I had no critical faculties as a child.
Yeah.
I liked literally everything I ever watched, but even the second one, even as a kid, I was like,
You had
Yeah.
limits.
Yeah.
"Twin, what are you up to?" But the first one, I think, because we've been visited upon by so many terrible game movies,
Street Fighter.
it's not compared to a lot of them. It's not bad. Like Johnny Cage doing the splits. Into that
Yeah.
animatronic Goro,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, the remake, the remake was pretty good.
Yeah.
Bar sort of Liu Kang being a bit. I'm not sure if I like Liu Kang, the actor. They did Liu Kang and stuff, but I thought that was a really good effort and stuff. For it sort of kind of kept quite true to the to the sort of kind of the games and stuff. So that's the problem you always got with sort of old school, especially like 90s, 80s, 90s sort of comic book game
That's
films
the
and
universe.
stuff. Yeah, or it had no relevance to what their sort of kind of source material was whatsoever. They had sort of like a small sort of like thing that happened and stuff, and it's just like why, like I rewatched Mario Brothers recently, and I was just like, as much as I don't hate it,
I love that as well.
yeah, as much as I didn't hate it, it has nothing to do with Mario really whatsoever.
No.
It's just sort of like, yeah. And it's good. Like Sonic the Hedgehog now, they've just done it like you know, like the games and stuff like that, and it's sort of, you know, it feels a bit more like what you sort of remember, not sort of this odd thing that has a small tentative sort of link to your childhood, you know.
I mean, to talk about Mortal Kombat, I mean, the one I really liked was Rebirth, that short film from 2010 by Kevin Tacharan. It was based on YouTube and like complete reimagining, set in the real world, and it was like very grounded. They moved all the fantasy aspects to it. And there was Luke Cage as a detective, Sonya Blade as his partner, and there was the arms guy was just a man that kind
The
of
arms guy.
Jack's the arms guy.
The arms
No,
guy.
no. Jack's
Oh,
Goro
Goro.
was like a plastic surgeon that had grafted blades to his arms.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah.
And yeah, if you ever get a chance to watch that, it's really, really good.
The thing is,
Apparently, I've watched it according to YouTube. I don't remember it, but it's up there now. So I'll worry about it afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the little red thing at the bottom says you've watched this.
The thing is, you get that. There's a lot of sort of YouTube, sort of like fan-made films that are, you reckon if they'd been given the budgets of
budget.
they would have been.
Those were legit.
This wasn't a fan film. This was a legitimate proposal that Kevin Sharon put forward.
Yeah,
it was a pitch, wasn't it? It was as short as a pitch for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did a series of them after. I think that there was like a
yes, they did.
Yes.
very short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they kind of lost some of what made the original Rebirth so good. It just felt a bit crap.
Yeah,
the thing with like Mortal Kombat as well is like it hasn't. I don't know if it's aged well. Like,
I think
because it's just a bunch of stuff that people like teenagers would have loved in the 90s, just stuck together with no. Like, whereas like Street Fighter, there's like a coherent sort of through line between the world. I mean, even the Street Fighter movie, the anime one.
The anime one's really good. Yeah,
that's great. And if you made that with live action, it'd be pretty cool.
Mortal Kombat was mainly there that teenagers wanted to buy it because their parents hated it and they'd seen it in the sun.
Yeah,
and were outraged for
the way
blood
I
code
played
and things.
Was I had it on my nan bought it for me on the Game Boy. It wasn't even the Game Boy Color, so it was just the Game Boy, like a port. And she was like, "Is this safe for children?" And I sort of did lie, and I was like, "Yeah." But I shouldn't have even bothered to try and lie, because of course it was safe, because like
it was. No way you see anything on a Game Boy.
It was blood, but like the bones were like little, like a little emoji of a dog bone and stuff. Like you couldn't. It was like so low res violence.
Yeah, low res violence.
It was great. Yeah.
Well, I remember playing Target Renegade on the ZX Spectrum. So you're talking about 48K game. So 8-bit computings, and that was like, violence was very, very low res.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, the lowest res game I sort of kind of remember, obviously, bar Pong, because I remember, like, one of my neighbors had Pong on their, like their TV thing, but the first sort of, was it the Spectrum that had the tapes? Was it the Spectrum that had the tapes?
No, the Spectrum, the Amstrad and the Commodore.
Yeah.
Spectrum,
the Amstrad.
The Amstrad, Commodore.
But I just remember sort of kind of loading up, I think it was Ghostbusters or something, and it was like you had to sort of like
in beams.
Yeah, the two beams. Yeah, the two beams.
To bring them across.
Yeah, trap them in and stuff. That's sort of kind of one of the first games I sort of vaguely remember as a kid. Sort of playing, and it just taking forever to load, like, and then having to change the tape over to sort of get it and stuff.
I never saw a tape. I'm post tape.
What age are you, Josh?
31.
Oh, okay, so I'm 41, so 10 years difference in there.
We don't talk about how
on a
different
3.5-inch floppy disk that my grandfather had. And you had a list. It was like in this little thing with like a list. So you stick it into and you'd have to go into like the command prompt thing.
Oh yeah,
DOS. If you type the right thing in, you would summon the game. It was just loads of games on this, and I don't know where you got it from. Yeah. It wasn't legit.
Nah,
a lot of golf games on there.
So an Amiga or a PC then, probably maybe an ST.
Oh no,
I had an ST.
Windows 3.2 with like a you could.
Oh, 3.2. Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Wow, that was odd.
I remember.
So I'm an IT tech by trade.
I remember I remember like when the Windows came out. I remember when Windows 95 was a thing and stuff. It's like, oh my god, Windows 95! Like it was from
I bought Windows 95 on floppy disk.
Yeah,
I couldn't afford a CD drive.
Yeah. Yeah,
and then I had Office as well, so I had a stack of floppy disks this high just to get a PC working, and that was just Windows and Office.
Yeah,
I remember BBSs.
Yeah. I just remember like it was always like it was like the Sega Nintendo wars. So it was you're either a Sega or Nintendo, and you were either Amiga or Atari ST. So it was this literally one or the other. So I was my family was Sega and Atari ST, whereas other people were like Nintendo and Amiga and things. So it was just sort of.
I was Amiga A1200.
Yeah, I went straight from a Commodore 64 to a PC because my brother was in IT as well, and he brought me a stack of stuff one night and said, "My company's throwing out PCs."
I just remember
like
it was always like you were.
And it was because my brother was in IT 20 meg hard disk, and he got me a printer as well, and it was this big, and it was a dot matrix, and it weighed like 8 kilos. It had a solid steel chassis, and if I was printing something, everyone knew in the adjoining houses as well, because we were in old council places with like concrete structures, and it would just drum. It had this big old print head with these big thick pins that hit a ribbon.
Man. Yeah.
Just.
I used to love the sound of the old printers, man. And that paper as well, with the things that came out of it, and just mads. Yeah, I
remember stealing translated Dragon Ball Z manga off the internet as like a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, really low res, and then didn't want to read it on the screen, so I printed out every page and tried to stick one version together, and it took ages.
Oh man, yeah,
it was shit. It was rubbish. Sorry, I didn't know if I can say, but it was.
No, you can swear away. Like I'm about to sort of like tell you my first pornographic experience on the internet was a Danny Minogue topless calendar that you could download. And it took forever. It was just like I remember my dad sort of like me and my friends were like, oh, we can get this topless calendar. And so we're like sort of kind of like on there, sort of saying we're going to play games and stuff. My dad walks in. And because it was literally because of like 14K modems, it's like this. So he walked in, talked away to us for ages. We're sitting there kind of like, and then just walked out again. And this thing still hadn't sort of kind of loaded,
Like by the time it downloads, like the calendar's out of date.
Yeah, like pretty much. It took forever. I remember sort of like trying to download an MPEG and stuff, and just taking like half a day, and it was only like I don't know, like 3 megabytes or something like that. And it was just like huge.
Oh dear! I remember downloading stuff at work because I worked in a college, and so we had like a decent connection, and we were the admin. So as long as no one really noticed what we were doing, we could get away with an awful lot. And so I played Final Fantasy VII. Not entirely legally. having
the famous PC game Final Fantasy VII, yeah.
Yeah, all 7 CDs or whatever were all just dodgy as hell. But then you go home, and it's like you realise that to download a CD image would have been like a week.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Couldn't even check your email because it had just been like hammered.
We kind of got off topic ever so slightly. We go back to sort of comic books and stuff. Wise, what sort of titles have you got?
Titles. The last book I made, I got it here because it's always here. Glorious Wrestling Alliance Ultimate Championship Edition. So that's a collection of comics that I made over a few years. They're sort of comedies. About a wrestling promotion. It's all like the backstage goings on at this very like dysfunctional wrestling promotion.
Are you into wrestling?
I love wrestling. More so now after I've done this book. But yeah, I listened to a couple podcast snippets, and I know wrestling has come up in the past.
Yeah, we had a guy on. It's called Zanti, who does they have a podcast called the Straight Shoot podcast, which is about wrestling.
Oh,
yeah, Straight Shoot, wrestling podcast, and they're quite big on TikTok as well. I think they've got like, and they basically do, and this is because we're going to do this at the end of this. They do this sort of pop quiz thing where they do they name a wrestler, and you've got 60 seconds to guess who the wrestler is.
You're going to quiz me on wrestlers?
Oh no, we'll do it on pop culture. We'll do it on geeky culture and stuff, but we do our version because we ripped them off. we basically just went, that's a really good idea. We're going to do that as well. So we had we had him on Santi. What am I talking? Santi on the podcast, and an awesome guy, and we talked about wrestling because, like, I was into wrestling when I was a kid and stuff. I've got a Bret the Hitman Hart cameo and stuff for my 40th birthday and stuff, which is amazing. Like, he just talks for like 3 minutes, and I'm just like, this is the best thing I've ever got. I've got signed Bret the Hitman Hart glasses, yeah. So we had them on, and yeah, it was a very interesting thing. So we did the thing that we copied off them, and we admitted to them that we copied off them. So we got him. So we did a wrestling one. And Pete, do you remember you weren't on it? You weren't on it. So I made him guess Bam Bam Bigelow in our one, and they've just done one recently about Bam Bam Bigelow, and I was like, they got that from me. So they've copied me now. Bam Bam Bigelow, yeah.
Extremely athletic big man.
Yes.
Fire tattooed on his head.
Yeah. So the wrestling, the comic book came from your interest in the WWE then, and
well, yeah, it all kind of like it's come a bit full circle now. So like I these comics I just made them to make them as these little mini comics, sort of like 24-page reso printed things, all in like different colors, and I would go around. It's when I was first discovering like alt comics and sort of DIY comics and like zine fairs and stuff. So I'd go around the country to little zine fairs and sell them, and I'd do like one a year. And then after I'd done a few, this was like, in the evenings over my day job, a publisher in America got in touch and asked if I wanted to like put them together as like a book and color them in and stuff, called Graphic Universe. So I did that, and that came out last year. And so all the GWA, that's the acronym for the Glorious Wrestling Alliance. all the G, because it's just too long to say repeatedly. All the GWA comics now are in like one book, which I'm excited about, and you can get it like it's easy to get. So whereas it wasn't so easy to get the ones that I had to like get printed myself and like take around. So this is logistically is great, and it was really good that they like saw worth in it and thought it was worthy to put out. So that book is like done for now. But where it started was I was always like a big fan of I was a big fan of wrestling when I was a kid, and it was like WWE and WCW. I also loved the WWE. I was WWF back then, and WCW N64 games.
Yeah.
And when I like faded away from my wrestling viewership, I never really stopped playing those games. Like I just kept. I still maintain that WWF No Mercy is one of the best games. It's so good.
Is it in your mind, or have you played it recently?
Because I've gone back, and honestly, but the other thing is I played a lot of wrestling games.
Yeah.
And they never reach that height. There's something about it.
Really?
Because they move. Yeah, man.
I think I have a massive struggle because like there's a place they've got one in Blackpool now, but there's one in Bury. Where is it Bury? Yes, Barry, where they have it's called Arcade Club, and it's literally three floors of old school games, like 3 floors of like arcades, like you were when you were a kid, and it's got every single old school game you could ever think of. And I went, and you play some of these old games that you used to absolutely love as a kid, and you're going, these are shit. You're just like, these are so bad.
100%, like
it's so bad.
Horrific.
Yeah, you got,
and most wrestling games are horrific as well. So like, there's other ones from that time.
There is.
Slag people off.
Whereas what was the one? There was a WrestleMania one where you could do the Royal Rumble and stuff, which I used to quite love. The graphics were actually quite good for back in the day and stuff, which I used to sort of proper love.
Explain. WrestleMania 2000, is the predecessor to WWF No Mercy. It's the same engine, see? It's so fucking boring to anyone who doesn't care about this. You got again. One Japanese company made this engine, and they made them for these Japanese wrestling games called Virtual Pro Wrestling in Japan. But it got licensed variously by either the WCW, and then when the license ran out, the WWF. So if you would, as a kid, you didn't know that, you would just buy these games. There'd be 3 of them, which is like that WrestleMania one, WWF No Mercy, and this one called WCW NWO Revenge. They all played the same, and they were amazing. But you didn't know which one you were going to get. So if you went and bought like WWF Warzone, despicable. WWF attitude.
I can't remember. We used to play one like before I saw the light and went to the Xbox. I briefly had a PlayStation, it's PlayStation 2, and there was we used to play in university. We used to play a wrestling game. Was it? What wrestling game was it? This was
SmackDown versus Raw.
It was 2000. It would have been 2002 or 2003 potentially. And all I knew was that you could create your own characters, and I had one called Justice, and they said Justice is right to the ring and stuff, and I basically did my special move with the power bomb type thing, and we used to play that all the time, and I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's the best. Oh, that was like the joy of doing the book, was they were just making up wrestlers.
Yeah.
In the book, there's like it's 100 pages, and maybe there's like 6-7 pages of wrestling, and the rest is them being sort of anxious backstage and like kind of what goes on. So the game, I'm making a game with Tinkerbot Games, Glorious Wrestling Alliance UltraBrawl, which is like a little card game. And that has been like the full circle, because now I get to use these characters that I created for like their backstage exploits and like make them playable and make them go in the ring. So it is literally like I've done a really elaborate creative wrestler.
Did you come to them or did they come to you?
I came to them. I'm always just like, I flap about a lot with, I'm always like really dedicated to like 3 or 4 projects that are like always bubbling away. But I always get something in my mind, like, oh, it'd be great to, I got obsessed with trying to make action figures.
Oh, brilliant. Very ADHD of you.
yeah, basically. Yeah. I've done a kick before this version, the American Ultimate Championship Edition version of the book came out. I kickstarted a collected edition of my mini comic, so it was more sort of DIY looking, and it was like all in like one color. Every chapter was a different color, but it was all like one color. And as like a Kickstarter reward for that, I made these toys, like the really DIY bootleg toys. So I made like 25, and they went fast, and I loved it. But I was messing around with chemicals, and I'm not mechanically inclined, and I basically gave myself like a rash.
You're a man after my own heart. This is the sort of thing I would do. It's like, I don't know how to do this thing, but I'm going to do it.
Just go on YouTube, watch the video, and decide you're an expert straight away.
Yeah.
I'm shocked you haven't actually, Matt. You say would. I'm shocked you didn't say have.
Oh man, that's just because I've got too many. I got too many
easy,
things. Man. Yeah, I just sort of kind of go. I do like I have ADHD. Well, I'm pretty confident I have and stuff. But it's just like, I'm literally just like, oh, I've got a great idea. I'm gonna do this, and I'm obsessing about it, and I'm just sort of like proper going on. And I will go through like I have to have everything, and just sort of go in and think, and I don't know anything about this thing, but I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna do it all, and it's just. Yeah,
I think. Well, I got diagnosed with ADHD, but by like a private. I got some like health insurance for my old work.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I could go and log in and have like a free like Skype. I was like, oh, well, it's free, so I might as well do it.
Yeah.
Can
I ask you? Are you? Because I'm currently in the process of trying to get a diagnosis on it because yeah.
I might try, but just everyone has said how hard it is. Then I'm just like with it. But the reason I started was I kept leaving my keys in the door and going and walk into the shop.
Yeah,
man. 4 or 5 times. And once I was ringing my mother on the phone, and she was telling me she'd lost something. And I was like, oh yeah, you don't believe it. Well, it's all this, like I left my keys in the door the other day. And as I said it, I went like that, and I patted my jeans. I gotta go, and I ran back.
Oh man, yeah, I've gone all the way to work. And then realized my keys were in the door and had to go all the way back. I went because I do like one of my other things. Like I do photography. I packed all my photography stuff. Was going to go and take photographs of some Star Wars. It was the Mint Imperials and the. What are they called? The 98th, I think. But yeah, so about a couple of hours away. Went all the way there. And realised I hadn't brought any of my camera equipment with me. I'd literally just walked out the door and left it on the sofa. Had to go all the way back again and then all the way back again to sort of take photographs and stuff. It's just like, because my brain was just like, boop. Yeah, so
I don't know if I've got ADHD. I've always just chalked that up to like being absent-minded or whatever. But then I got this free thing, and she was just like, yeah, you basically sound like you've got it, but like I can't physically
it's hard. I'm sort of kind of going through the process of it, because it's, as much as certain parts of it are good, because when you sort of hyper focus things, you can get them done. But there's a lot of things. I am very forgetful. I'm very impulsive. There's lots of bad sides to it that sort of is sort of affecting me more mentally. So I'm going through a like a charity, because the NHS. I turned around to the NHS. Firstly, the doctor was just like, pretty much fuck off. I'm not interested. You know, it's just a thing. It's not a thing. And so I'm going through this charity called Psychiatry UK or Psychiatry UK. So I had to fill out all these questionnaires and all this other stuff, and then they basically do an interview with you to see it. And then one of my friends has done it, and he's on sort of, I'm not sure about the medication side of things yet or not, but he's been medicated, and he says it helps him focus a lot more and stuff. And that's the one thing I lack, because I can hyper focus, but other than that, I can't. You know, I got lots of sort of thing going on, and then I just
procrastinate. Clean the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh man, like
Can't make a cup of tea.
It's the old joke, isn't it? I've got friends who have it, and it's like, you go to clean the kitchen, and there's something on the side that needs to be put away. So you take it to the living room, do that, and there's something on the floor. So you pick that up,
yeah.
And that needs to go in the bedroom. And when you're in the bedroom, you realise the window's not closed.
Done that so many times.
You get to the end of the day, and you've achieved nothing, but you've like circled the flat 20 times. And just moved everything.
Steps in.
Yeah.
Do you know Jamie McKelvey, the cartoonist, comic artist?
Rings a bell.
He draws a lot of stuff for Kieran Gillen, so he did the Young Avengers run.
All right.
He designed the suit for Captain Marvel.
Oh.
The the Carol Danvers version, and he got diagnosed recently, and he's been posting a lot of good stuff on Twitter about it. Again.
It was one of those things. I think it's something that's sort of not been. I think it's a lot more, I say popular, a lot more people are thinking about it now because it's more aware. And I think a lot of people are kind of going, oh, this is bullshit, you're just jumping on a trend. But it is something you can physically, like, I've always had it in the back of my brain that there was something there. And I was sort of thinking about it 4 or 5 years ago and thought maybe I do, but maybe it's just me being an idiot, or maybe it's my dyslexia or whatever and stuff. And it's only recently because my friend was just like, look, man, you sound like you've got it. You might as well just take a test and stuff and get somebody to talk about it and things. And, you know, because it does, like I said, there are good parts to it. Like hyperfocus, you know, I don't know. Hyperfocusing makes you get a lot of things done, but you're ignoring everything else around you and stuff like that. So it has its downsides. But, yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It's good to know, even if you're not going to, you know, at least you kind of feel a bit more secure in yourself, that you feel like, you know, I'm not just being an idiot. I'm not just being forgetful. I'm not just being sort of impulsive because that's it. There is a mental issue behind it and stuff.
I mean, you know, knowledge of it will mean you can like manage it yourself more easily. Yeah. And as awareness of ADHD has kind of, you know, grown, more people going, oh, that sounds like me, actually.
Yeah, I think
that the understanding is there, and people going, well, I might be ADHD. And I think it's not just a case of, well, only one people, two people, more people had it. We just did not have the language or knowledge to know that they had it.
Yeah.
But also it became less of a thing to be stigmatized about it. People didn't feel afraid of thinking maybe it's me because they didn't want to stick out. I mean, my wife's grandfather is 86, and we're pretty sure he's dyslexic. And he's great. He was always great with his hands. He worked with his hands all his life, but he has horrendous confidence issues because all his life he was told he was slow and he was stupid. And there's nothing actually wrong with him. He's really capable with his hands, and he always did. You know, even like stupid things like doing the decorating around the house and stuff. Everything was so beautifully done and just so. But because he couldn't read very well, he was slow, he was stupid, he was no good, he didn't have his self-worth.
Yep.
And it took a long while from that stigma around anything that made you different to go away. I think.
Like I'm dyslexic, and I always just thought I was stupid. Like I just honestly thought I couldn't read things properly. I'd make mistakes. I'd read things wrong and stuff. And then I was just like, it was only in university towards the last year of university where I got diagnosed with dyslexia, and that sort of helped, just at least knowing that it wasn't just me being a fucking idiot. I was just sort of like, there was something, and then that helped me sort of try and find ways to manage it and stuff, which I think has helped, because my writing's not flawless, but it's a million times better than it was originally, now, because I've found ways of engaging myself to fix what the issue is. So yeah, it's good to know. I think it's hereditary as well, because I'm pretty confident my dad had it and stuff. There was stuff he was doing that I was just like, yeah, that's well that. But it's one of those things, man. It's just like
yeah,
it's good to sort of like to know, even for your own sort of.
When I had that call with the private GP, I literally was like, I'm going to go to the GP and sort this out. I've been putting that off. I thought I'd been putting it off for a couple of weeks. I've realised I've been putting it off for a year and a half, because I just calculated when that call was. So is that the diagnosis in itself?
Yeah, well, I think it's man. Like, I was doing the same thing, and the only reason I did, because my friend said, you're not going to lose anything. Now I went, and I felt stupid talking to the GP about it, and he wasn't overly helpful, because I think because of TikTok and all the videos and things that are coming out these days talking about it, he thinks it's a fad. He thought it was a fad, but he basically said, look, you can go through the NHS, and it's going to take up to 6 years before you can get anybody, or we can refer you to a charity, and they can do it, and that can take 6 months. So I was just like, well, we'll do the charity then. And I said, like, I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be a drain on the NHS and stuff like that. It's something I can, as much as it upsets me and causes me sort of kind of certain issues and stuff, I don't want to drain the NHS for more important things and stuff. He says, well, we'll do it through the charity and stuff, which I realized later that I actually, my company has health insurance, so I could have gone through that. But so I went through this charity and stuff, and I'm just currently waiting. But it was just good to sort of, because I filled out these things, and they asked somebody to answer some questions for you and stuff. And my sister and my mum went through it, and you got this online portal, and they go through the questions and they answer. And it's just like, yeah, that's me. That's definitely me. That's very me. And it's sort of, I think you go and talk. And the next step after that is you talk to a psychiatrist, who then asks you more questions back and forth to see what your sort of kind of your state is. And then it's down to if you actually have that or something else, and then if medication is an option or not an option and stuff. And yeah, it's the idea of it, sort of having something like that helps. My only sort of thing that sort of gets me down is that I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life over 40 years. Like, I've made some pretty bad decisions and stuff like that. I'm horrible with money. I'm good with giving advice to other people about money. I'm just not good with my own money, because it's the dopamine thing, because you're always trying to find that sort of kind of, like that hit. So that buzz. So spending money when you're depressed, being in really bad relationships, because it gives you that buzz when you get that sort of thing. And those things are the things it makes me think, if I'd known this earlier, none of that would have happened. And the only way I get myself over that is it's like, I would have never met these guys. I wouldn't have my dog.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have
going back.
Yeah,
it's all butterfly effect.
Yeah, it is. So you are where you are, and you can move forward with that and stuff. So if you've been putting it off, just phone up the GP and say, I want to have an appointment to talk about ADHD. You get an appointment, and then you go from there. And like I said, you can it's called UK, what's it called, Psychiatric or Psychiatry UK is the charity. He'll do it because the NHS are completely under, in the shitter, under-resourced and stuff. So you're not going to be able to go through that, but they can refer you to it and stuff, and it's worth it, because in the end, it's not good. You're not going to lose anything by doing it. No. And if anything,
the reason I've been putting it off is you've got to call. I mean, it just sounds like laziness, but you've got to call it early in the morning.
Yeah. Well,
and I've been on like deadlines for like the last year and a half making a new book, and so every day I'm like, I can either smash this page out today, or I can do a bunch of life admin. and I never err on the side of life admin.
Oh, yeah,
and you think, I've just kicked it down, I'll do it next week, and I've realised, I've
It's
kicked
the
a
human
bunch of
brain.
things down.
The human brain is so much better at dealing with short-term pluses
Yes.
than long-term investment.
Mm.
And it's kind of the things that you're talking about, the dopamine hits and the bad decisions, which is something I suffer from as well. It's like a hyper version of that. But they've done these studies that over and over again that prove it. If you say to someone, "I'll give you £100 now," or "I'll give you this thing here," which in 2.5 years, in 3 years' time, will give you £500. 90% of people will take the £100 now because it seems too far ahead. And it's the same thing. Is that yes, intellectually, if you do the life stuff and you call the GP or whatever else, it will end up being better. The short term of someone's going to stop nagging me about this is going to win 90% of the time, unless you really kick your ass.
Yeah. My sort of way that I try, I don't feel doing it sometimes, but if I've got, in my brain, and I appreciate this is a massive tangent, so my apologies here, but like, the way I try and deal with myself is that I've always got a million ideas or things I need to do, and I'll go, I need to do this, but I need to do this, but I need to do this. And what I do is the first one I thought of and the first one I thought was a priority, I just do it. And I go, as much as my brain's fighting me not to do it, and it's kind of going, but you could be doing this instead. And you've got this inner brain, you've got this inner voice in your head just kind of going, yeah, but you could do this instead, and that would be more productive, but then you could do that instead, and then you could do that. You just go, no, I'm doing this. And you literally fight yourself and you just go, I am going to do this. And it sort of helps, and it makes you sort of feel slightly better because you've just done that one thing. Like today, my house is absolute shit tip, and I was like, I need to do something. And I said to myself, I was like, which room do I go through? Why do I do this, and this, and this? And I was just like, kitchen today it goes to the first one in my head, and it's like, kitchen needs to be done. And so I've literally spent today, and I've given myself time to go off and do my sort of kind of weird things I need to do because I can't stick with something for long periods of time, but kitchen, and I was doing, that's why I was late for the podcast, because I was sorting the kitchen out. I was like, I am finishing this kitchen tonight, and I'm just going to do the kitchen and stuff. And as much as my brain's telling me I should be doing other things, I was like, I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to do. So maybe just say to yourself, phone call, it's one phone call, do it, and then just get it done. Just do it.
It's not even that off topic, because a lot of the wrestling comic, not so much the game, but the comic is about these sort of mental health things. And it's like an ensemble, so there's a bunch of characters. So and it was such a long time ago when I started writing it that I can't really remember what was sort of intellectual and what was just like reflex writing, They all are a little bit of me arguing with each other, which is weird to read back now, like 6 years later.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's funny, like when the book gets listed on Amazon, one of the things it gets listed under is like self-esteem and mental health.
Oh yeah.
And one of the wrestlers is like he's a gravy train with like arms and legs. So this counts.
So
the one guy's got a fish head.
We'll go properly back on the topic about the game and stuff. So, are board games, card games a thing for you? What's the?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm trying to think now. Probably the way I got into board games and card games currently is someone introduced D&D 5e to work years ago. This is probably about 6 years ago now. Again, dovetailing with the comic, probably around exactly the same time. And it didn't feel like something. I wasn't sure what it was, but it was a bunch of I was working in like a co-working space. There was loads of like people who ran their own businesses and stuff. So these were like people out in the world, because I was quite I love comics, obviously, because I've spent my life making them now, but I was very scared to go into Forbidden Planet when I was like 15, because I was afraid to be mocked in the Welsh Valleys. So I needed an acceptable face of D&D, and then so we started playing it. It was amazing. And then some board game cafes opened up in Cardiff, where I'm from, and the D&D group that we used to play with, we all kind of like started playing games, and so quite a big part of my life now. And so that was where the idea to try and make my own thing with the GWA characters.
So, are you you've done obviously RPGs and stuff. Are card games sort of kind of are you more of your preference, or did you just want to try something more simple with your Kickstarter than sort of going into sort of kind of a complex board game?
I would say probably if my personal, I do like card games. Like there's a great one called Caper played about you have to put on like a little heist. That's great. When I was at UK Games Expo with UltraBrawl, found a bunch of these things I only seen online. Oink Games, they make these tiny little mini box games, and ours is a little bit bigger than that, and it's got a bit more stuff. But they're really like elegant, quick card games. They made like a great one called Startups, I think. So those sort of things were like an inspiration. Like a nice light, simple game. But what have I been playing? We played the Thing board game.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Horrifying, I didn't like that. It made a lot of people very angry with each other. There's a game called The Captain is Dead.
Not played that.
We were talking a little bit about TNG earlier. That is a fantastic board. It's like a co-op board game. You're on like it's a knockoff Star Trek scenario. You're on like a fake Enterprise, and you've got different characters. They've got different occupations. And the idea is you have to work together to like solve problems on the ship before it like blows up or like the aliens attack you. And it's great. That's amazing. What else? And there's a great Funko. Funko Pops.
Yeah.
They made a Godzilla board game called Godzilla Tokyo Clash. And,
is that like King?
Absolutely awesome. No, it's so much better than
King of Monsters, is it, or is it?
King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo, that's it, yeah.
Oh yeah.
All due respect to King of Tokyo, that Godzilla game is on it. And I was thinking like Funko it might be rubbish, but no, it's great.
Okay.
What's your all-time favorite board game then?
We might be well. I like those Sherlock Holmes consultant detective games.
Oh,
they're like those mystery type things. So that's probably there. We really had a good time with that. Captain is Dead is up there. We've played that more than anything else over the last few years.
I think my favorite sort of card-based game, and I've got some of the collectible card games which are just like crack and just sort of I need to stay away.
I saw a wrestling collectible card game, but I never had enough of it to like. But no one else wanted to play it with me. So look at these players. Like
I had the Age of Sigmar Champions, which thankfully stopped because it just sort of defunct. But there's a game called The Resistance, which is sort of like Mike Orvis of Geek Pride fame sort of got me into, because I'm into sort of big war games and stuff like that. Like this is
a small box game, yeah.
Yeah, like it's called The Resistance, right? And it takes like a game will take anywhere between like 5 and 10 minutes, and it's like I like really long games, but this is amazing because it's literally something you can sort of it's like that mafia game or the werewolf one and stuff, where you literally have to choose who's basically the bad guy, and so you get cards. Everybody is either works for the government, or you're a rebel, and you've got to choose. You've got to basically eke out the rebels before they sabotage the mission and stuff. And it's so good. It's got to the point where I bring it back to the pub with me when I go to Northern Ireland and have all the locals and stuff playing it. But it's one of those games that you fall out with each other and stuff, because you're like, I'm not lying to you. I'm not lying to you. You are lying to me. This is definitely you. You wouldn't be doing that. And the thing is, because it changes every time, but people hold grudges from the last game.
So they're making decisions that don't play.
They have zero bearing. You're just like, but you were the thing last time. It's like, yeah, but I'm not this time. Yeah, but you could be lying. And it just gets so like, but it's an amazing game. It's so good and stuff.
I think I played Coup, which is like
same people.
Same world.
Yeah, same people.
So when we were doing, go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say there's a whole bunch of card games that fit around those concepts, and I think of them as poker games because they're card games that are actually more about playing the player.
Yeah, you're just gonna look into people's eyes deeply.
Yeah, it's about bluffing.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's so hard. You think you've got somebody, and then what happens is you get those sort of like we got my mum to play, and she doesn't know how to play properly and stuff. Like she's just thinking, and she sort of. But then when you get somebody who's basically that X factor, and they're making decisions just because they don't understand, it screws everything up because you're like, I fully know what this person is, but then like they've just sabotaged the mission when they shouldn't do, and then it just sort of screws everything up, and it's just like
it's like that military truism, isn't it? The scariest thing to face as an amateur.
Yeah,
because if you're facing someone who knows what they're doing, you can figure out what they're most likely to decide.
Yeah,
but when you're facing someone who is literally, that looks like a pretty red button. You're screwed. You have no chance at
when
all.
we're playing War on Terror, Kaylee has never played board games until she met me. And we had a load of friends around, and we're going to play War on Terror, which is basically Risk meets diplomacy by Have I Got News for You? So it's a very kind of farcical level. And Kaylee ended up as being one of the terrorists. Basically, her nation had been destroyed, and she became one of the terrorists. And then she got hold of nukes. And you just nuke that one, and that one. Nuke that. It's just that nuking everything. Which wasn't how, no, you meant to kind of hold back nukes and use them as a deterrent. No, it's okay, just like blasting everyone to Kingdom Come.
But Kelly is an engineer. Her instinctive reaction is to fix a problem. If you've given her a hammer,
that's civil engineering.
If you give her
that's civil engineering, mechanical engineering weapons.
Yeah, if you give her a hammer, she's going to use it to hit a nail. She's not going to tell the nail to behave, or she'll hit it. She's going to say, "Right, problem done."
So I kind of go for I kind of like more strategic tactical games and stuff like that. So I play 40k, and I play sort of like we're playing Blood Bowl. We've got a Blood Bowl league at the minute, which is actually really.
I would like to play Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl is really good. You know what? I've been So it's a game that I've been playing since 2nd edition, when they had the polystyrene board, like from back in the sort of kind of 90s and stuff. And I was thinking about this, out of all of Games Workshop's IPs and stuff, Blood Bowl is probably the one that I remember with the most fondness, because it's not overly convoluted and it's quite simple. It's kind of chess based in that you've got certain ways to sort of kind of get around. And I've got a league, and I'm really enjoying it. I sit there and watch other people play it and stuff, because it's just like there's a lot of things, and I like the fact that my guys can level up, but they can get killed and things, and it's really good.
Whereas my favourite is Space Hulk.
Oh, okay.
It's my favourite ever since, and I've still got it, and it gets dug out occasionally. But we have these conversations. I help to run a game club, so we go over this sort of stuff a lot, and it's interesting to talk to people about what they find is their favourites, especially at the moment, with people are getting more back towards. I mean, I held this up because this is Kill Team, which is one of GW's skirmish level games, which are becoming they're getting more dug into. But it's the complexity versus the options sort of thing. And it's the same thing that you're seeing with board games, that some people tend towards games which are simple mechanics, but complex for the people. Other people love the board games where you've got 4 boards, 380 pieces, 12 types of counter, 4 decks of cards.
Yeah. That's me.
Just sitting there, just nodding.
Yeah,
and it's.
I played 24 hours, literally 24 hours worth of Axis and Allies with my brother when I went back. This is a game called Axis and Allies Global. The board is 3 foot by 5 foot, 3 by 5. The board is it's huge, and it's got over 1,000 pieces, and it goes. It's an amazing game. It's glorious. I'm doing a review for it in a minute, but the review's nearly as big as the game. It's just like it's huge. But
I mean, I was
what's
talking
the car
today,
game? The Games Workshop car
Dark
game.
Future.
The way back when back when was Dark Future.
Gorka Morka? What's Gorka Morka?
Gorka Morka was
the
40k version.
one.
No, sorry,
Yeah,
I pronounced that weirdly. Not card game. Car game.
Yeah,
no, car game.
Oh, it is. Yeah, okay.
So
Gorka
Morka.
Gorka Morka, yeah.
Yeah.
So Gorka Morka was the one based in 40k with 28mm figures. But way back when Games Workshop were first Games Workshop, they had one called Dark Future, which was sort of like a rolling road type of game.
Oh
with
shit!
more,
Yeah,
like, organized
yeah,
stars.
yeah.
And there's still adherents around it. And there's a few that have gone around. There was a Kickstarted one called Thunder Road.
That's
about
it.
4 or 5 years back.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the basic concept has kind of stayed the same and gone around. I mean, nowadays, the closest equivalent to that would probably be, oh God, what's it called now? 1 second while I actually get in my Facebook groups to see if it's going to be nice and show me one of the ones that I'm in for it.
Ooh.
But there's one that was done by one of the guys under the Osprey Blue Rulebook.
Yes.
And I can't remember the name of it now. And it's basically, the guy who did it has done some other stuff as well that I really like. And it's based around like an apocalyptic future thing, like car racing game with templates and stuff. But the challenge is he doesn't sell any minis for it.
Gaslands.
But Gaslands. But he does endorse some people who make add-ons. And so part of the fun is buying or unearthing your old Corgi miniatures and Hot Wheels and stuff, and taking them apart and rebuilding them with like cannons and flamethrowers and armor and stuff.
Yeah, man.
And it's actually a lot of fun. I haven't played for a bit. I've got. They did it an expansion called Refueled as like a second version, and he's done a space combat game called A Billion Suns, which looks interesting. And he's doing really well because he's quite good at the simplification thing that a lot of people find hard when you're actually playing stuff. Is that a lot of stuff can be going on, but he's quite good at keeping it manageable. And I think that's the hardest thing with game design. Is it's really tempting to do all the cool shit and be really like, it's incredibly realistic, and people are just like, I have to what?
Yeah.
They get partway in.
It's like that game. What's that World War II game? North Africa. Is it War in North Africa or Campaign in North Africa? Which is literally can take months to play. It's so in depth, and it literally drills down to the noodle rations, or the noodle rations that the Italian troops will have, and sort of each plane has a pilot, and each pilot has certain traits and things, and it's like literally you've got thousands and thousands of stuff, and it can go on forever.
That was the campaign for North Africa, which was playing time of up to 1,500 hours.
It's my sort of game. I tried to get my group to play it. I was like, let's do it. Let's just fucking play it. We like got 2 years.
That's not a game. That's a part-time job.
Let's do it. Because we did Axis and Allies over, and when we were in lockdown, we did that over Tabletop Simulator, which is really good to use. And we did that over, like, we had 2 games of it, and we did that over the space of like 3 months, I think. And it was like we would do every week. We would play 2 or 3 hours, and then we'd just sort of kind of go through it and stuff. And it was just like, it was a good way to do it. I was just like, let's do campaign for sort of North Africa, and they're like, no, I can't do it.
And to be fair, during lockdown was a good idea because people weren't going anywhere or having other plans. Because otherwise, you have the D&D problem that we always have with our D&D, don't you?
Yeah,
it gets in the way.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. How long's your longest D&D campaign been, Josh?
I'm playing with the same group pretty much that I've been playing with for 7 years now.
Wow.
There's been some drop-offs. We've changed, but we play once a month, so
oh right, okay, once a month.
It's manageable, you know.
Are you on the same campaign at the minute, or?
No. Well, there was an initial campaign. I died. No, I don't think I died. I think my soul died in real life. I just left.
Right.
I just stopped playing. So they carried on. Then there was a splinter group, which I think more and more people joined that group. So a splinter group of the originals went off to the side. I joined that group again, and then then we did Curse of Strahd.
Oh.
I played a dwarf called Thronar Goatfoot. He died. I loved him. I want to be a rogue, basically, at all times. So every character I've made that's not a rogue is just me stopping myself from doing what I really want. So when he died, I had to play a cleric.
Yeah.
We was Bear Rogue.
We've got a...
Then I DM'd. Then we finished Curse of Strahd, and I DM'd. And as I was DMing, it was good because I was just starting to... I hadn't started making the GWA card game, but I had started writing the script for my next book. Or I was writing the outline, and DM'd the Waterdeep thing. What's it called?
Something with what's it called for? Yes,
it's more like a sandboxy thing. It's not really prescriptive. There's like 4 villains, so a lot of it, and I would like to make stuff up because it was only once a month, so I was like, oh, I can just make some stuff up. And this was peak lockdown, so I was working flat out, but I was like my going. It's like, okay, I had some stuff, so it was great thinking on your feet and trying to figure out how to make, as we were coming to the end of it, be like, how can I make this satisfying so that the stuff we did right at the start pays off? Because the book doesn't really guide you in that way. So then I think that was really good storytelling wise when I started writing my book.
Yeah.
I never write a long script. Usually with a wrestling comic, I write page to page generally. I'll write from my phone notes and I just start drawing because it's more of like that's more like innate what I do in that book. But the book I'm working on now, it's more elaborate sort of sci-fi comic, so I needed to write it in advance. And so if anyone is interested in writing stuff, DM in a D&D campaign, I think, is an invaluable tool.
It's infuriating as well. It's infuriating. We've been running one for 2 years now. Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
We've been going for we've been going for 2 years now. Our cleric doesn't like being a cleric. She's definitely not sort of like she's trying to be anything but a cleric. Yeah, she's basically trying to be everything but a cleric.
Did she buy those cards?
Yeah, she's got the cards. Yeah, she's got the cards.
I printed all my spells off onto like a piece of paper, and a cleric just like at the start of every day could choose from like 70 spells or something. So we were coming into this thing. There used to be like a fun event once a month. And I was coming in with like a binder, and then people were like, "What are you gonna do?" You know, asking me what I'm doing in the game. And I'm like looking through like a million sheets. It's too much admin. You've got to be like a rogue or fighter or something where you can just like quick fire answer.
And the reason why I played the barbarian in the game is because the tactics is simple: get angry and hit it.
Yeah, he does. His running thing is I hit it with my axe. That's what he says. And as the DM.
That was safer than when we made him a mage, and his thought for everything was I throw a fireball at him.
Oh yeah. He nearly killed. We did a stream early on to see how before we did our what's the word? What's it called? Homebrew campaign. We did a sort of a false Hydra thing. Have you ever done a false Hydra before?
No, I don't know. That's it.
Okay, right. So don't look it up. Don't look it up.
Okay.
If you ever don't look it up, but if you've got a friend who DMs, get them to do a false Hydra for you because it's so good. It's really, really good. It's like more investigation and sort of kind of psychological stuff. It's a really good sort of kind of thing, but get them to do it for you. It's really good. So we did that, but Peter basically at one point in time went, if anything happens, I'm just going to throw a fireball at it, and he did. And
actually, marking it to like, next time we see it, tell me, and I'll throw a fireball at it.
And and he did, but this is like, I'm streaming this to sort of, because we thought, we'll do it for Geek Pride and stuff, and I was just like, he did it, and I just saw these dice roll across, roll 20, and I went, what have you done? I went, I've thrown a fireball at it, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, because the way it is, it's just like, you're gonna die, you're all gonna die, and this is gonna be the stream end and stuff, so I had to sort of like think on my feet. I was like Mark,
does anybody want to try and stop him?
Yeah, does anybody want to try and stop him?
I fumbled trying to make him dodge, and so he had to fumble the NPC that was with us, and he should knock his hand and died. I thought Matt was going to have an embolism and just collapse on the camera.
This is like, oh man. But the thing is, like, so we went on from that, and we've got a 2-year campaign that's been going on. They're level 11, I think now, and we've gone from 0 to 11, and there's been some really good sort of emotional moments and stuff in it.
Yeah.
And we get some really poignant parts and stuff. We've had some really good moments where I nearly, I'm not one of those DMs who actively tries to kill players and stuff because I like the storyline. But there is points when they can sort of get close to being killed or sort of
like punching a shark.
Yeah, punching a shark. But
like a Punisher.
Yeah, well, it's just like we had some things where like some of them nearly died, and it gets quite sort of kind of moment, quite sort of kind of sad, and there's some.
Matt has learnt not to write too far ahead.
Oh yeah,
because if he's expecting us to do something, we'll do totally the opposite.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And for a little while, when we first started off, he would just be like, "Why did I bother?"
I literally, at the very start, I was writing pages and pages and pages of stuff. Like, like if they do this, then they'll go like, we'll go here. And if they do this, we'll go here and we'll do this. And if that happens, then we'll do this. And I had all these like flowcharts and things within like what I was going to do. And they wouldn't do any of it. And I was just like, that's all wasted. I can't use any of that and stuff. And I was just like, so now I have an idea of what's happening. I have an idea of where it's going. And I throw in sort of even the other day, I created a map. I drew the map on sort of kind of Incarnate and stuff. I had all these NPCs and things around. I was like, yeah, we'll do this because one of the characters has just died, so we'll have a funeral and we'll do this. And then they all went, right, so we're just going to stick the corpse in some fucking vinegar and stuff, and then go off and do something else, and we'll do a funeral some other time. I was like, God damn it!
Yeah, but keep it in the back pocket because one day.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's still there, but it's sort of like, with these guys especially, I've learned very quickly that you play off them, so whatever they do, you react to, because there's no way of one. I don't like railroading people anyway. I kind of like them to have their own free choices to do what they want. So it's just a case of they do what they want and I have to react to it and stuff, and so go, right, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Like sometimes it gets to the point, especially when my brother, he argues with me quite a lot on things. Actually, no,
your brother, what do you expect?
Yeah, they all argue with me, to be honest. There's always like, oh, why can't I do that? Pete especially is like, I have advantage on that. It's like, why do you have advantage on that, Pete? Because of reasons.
I'm angry.
Yeah, because of reasons.
I just want to have a good time. So
it's
I get like I don't know if they never got close to like dying, all of them. I don't know if I would have killed them all. I would have like put them to hell.
I think I think you've got to. Sorry, yeah, I think you have to have some sort of. They have to know that they are fallible in certain, they're not immortal, and there is a risk.
Went down.
Yeah,
I never told them they weren't going to die.
Yeah,
I was like, if we got right to the end and they got TPK'd, I'd have been like, one of you's got like 1 HP or something to fucking sort it out.
You remember when Warforged in that trying to get through that maze with all the traps?
Yes! And he was just walking through and getting absolutely down so many times, and I was just like, oh no.
Because it was this really desperate situation, and my Warforged is has the whole trait thing of I've let someone die before and I would never let it happen again. And so he was determined to get through, and he kept on fumbling all these checks for traps because he was a fighter ranger, and just like the dice hated me. And I think it literally got to the point they managed to get down and find their way through, and they got to me just before I had to roll my final death
save,
on my third down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I managed to save myself twice, like stumbling around this freaking maze, and I was literally like 20 foot from the exit on my final fumble. And they walked around the corner and gone, "Oh my god, look, quick, let's leave him." And his look on his face when he actually got to tell them, they'd walked around the corner and saw me, and they made that dice roll. Yeah, and he was just like,
yeah, because like I don't, I there's certain like I expect 1 or 2 of them may die, especially later on, because we're up and up. We're going to get to a point where because if you get doubled out, you're dead, and it really happened to my brother once, where he made a stupid mistake. He attacked somebody he probably shouldn't have attacked, and the guy rolled really high, and I think he was like 2 points off doubling him out, and me and him just kind of went, oh. It's like, he says, how many hit points have you got? And at the I don't know, at the time it was like 14 or something, and it's like, how much has he done? And it's like 26. I was like, fuck, man, seriously, two more points, and you would have just been dead, no sort of death, it's just dead. And he was just like, oh, I'm not doing that again. And now he's one of the most overpowered characters in the game. It's just like,
you almost killed our magician the same way by like 1 point, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was literally just, and I think Actually, no, I think it was Drakton that almost killed him by one point because of that damn axe she gave him.
Yeah.
She gave him an axe that was cursed. And under certain circumstances, he would just go into a rage and couldn't come out.
Mm-hmm.
And me and the magician walked in, and we were the only people he could see because he'd killed everybody else in this tower. And he came running at us and literally 1 point off perma killing the magician.
It was up and across, and it was just land onto the Warforge.
Yeah.
And then on the next one's like, whoa.
Is this are you playing 5e?
Yeah, I'm on 5e. Yeah. It's very loose. We're very loose with it because we stream it generally most Thursdays. We've been off a few weeks, but we've been doing it for like 2 years now, and it's very loose. So it's not like there are certain rules that we will adhere to, but we're very much like, if it makes sense and it sort of helps along the game, we'll sort of bend things and stuff. Like, I'm not a rules lawyer and stuff like that. It's just literally, in the end, if Danny especially, she's quite argumentative when it comes to certain things, and it's just like, she'll go, oh, I want to do this. If I think it's worth it, fine, I'll go, fine, yeah, you can have it. But if I'm just like, no, it doesn't make sense to me, then it's just a straight up no, you can't do it sort of thing, Or if it's a grey area, I just let them roll a dice, and then and highest number, if they get 1, 2, 3 no, 4, 5, 6 yes, and then sort of do it that way, and then it sort of saves any pissing around. We don't like. It literally just is a basis for the game, and sort of like, that's it. There's no sort of kind of massive in-depth to the rules and stuff. So there will be rules lawyers out there who watch our games and go, oh my god, you're doing that wrong and you're doing that wrong, and it's just like, it doesn't matter as long as the story goes well. Ours is a story. It's a sort of, it's good for our mental health as well. It's quite good sort of for us to sort of as a group to go on, and it's got, the storyline's quite good. And if you're being too rigid towards certain rules, I think it would take away from the story. And we've crafted quite a good sort of thing at the minute, all together. It's not just been me, because they have written the story effectively, making the decisions, and I've just fleshed it out as we've gone along. I think that's
my Warforge. I think my Warforge breaks about 3 different things, doesn't it? He came in as a ranger, became a ranger fighter duel. Then we kind of fluffed it that an engineer he came across basically came up with some upgrades for me, so I gained some extra agility, and then we had this whole thing where I got the crap beaten out of me, and so we've respec'd him into a fighter who's an Echo Knight.
Oh wow!
So it's just like,
that's good, but it's just
quickly.
I think as long as you've got
logical to me.
Yeah, as long as you get sort of a good, for storylines and stuff, it's great. For me as well. As much as like, it can be stressful because you're like, oh crap, I need to do something for this, I need to do something for this, and if they do something really weird or something completely off script and stuff, then you're just like, fuck, I have to think of something quickly for this. But I think it benefits it benefits the story. And it's just sort of, it's just good because it is very natural, and you're just doing things as they go along. So nobody really understands what's going on. They can't predict stuff. So yeah,
I've never played any other edition, but like 5e, for people who don't like, as long as the DM knows the rules. My partner, she works at that co-working space I was talking about, and every year they do a 24-hour stream of D&D with a rotating people who come in for like a homeless charity in Caerphilly where it's based, and it always does really well. But like, as long as the DM knows what they're doing, like, you just get random employees coming in and playing for 2 hours on this stream, and no one like barks at it. Like, it's really
a good DM. Sorry, carry
on. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, a good DM's very important. Like, I'm okay. I think I'm not the best. But Ben Fee, who was a guy who does stuff for Geek Pride and stuff, he's so good. Like, a lot of the ideas I have are I basically pinch for him. So we do like, we used to do WhatsApp chats for like downtime and stuff. So we have a Discord. So if you check our Discord, our RPG has its own sort of RPG section and stuff. So they can do downtime chat. And it's really good because it helps them sort of be more in character. Because like when you're streaming and stuff, it's hard to think about what you really want to say, and you feel a bit self-conscious and stuff. But if you're putting on the Discord, you can really go into depth. And there's some really good, like we've had a battle, so we had some really nice speeches beforehand, which they sort of kind of tallied up what they did beforehand.
Do you remember when you made your brother read that speech?
Yeah, yeah. So like
this huge speech. It was this long on Discord, and he said, "I want you to read the speech out," and his brother just went,
So that's like, so you get to have, and it's good because they can be a character. We had some, quite emotional moment with the character where the old paladin died and stuff, so we had this really long sort of like back and forth about trying to save him and things, and it's quite good to have that as well. So you in the time that you don't have playing, you can still kind of be within that sort of world in sort of spare time you have. So every now and again you'll see a little message like somebody's done something in the Discord, and you can sort of carry on, and it's a really good idea. And I got that from Ben Fee because he used to do it with us, and I really enjoyed that. Anyway, so back again onto topic. The mechanics of the card game. So the mechanics of your card game, how does that work?
So it's very quick. It's like a 15 to 30 minutes, depending on like number of players or how well acquainted you are with the rules. And it's basically you choose a wrestler. You go from one of 6 wrestlers from the GWA. They've all got their own kind of like personalities and special moves. You choose a wrestler. You draw from a move deck to build your hand, and then it's a case of you're drawing cards and playing them down to build up combos. Like you get different wrestling moves. You take it in turns. You lay a combo down. These cards have got like different color icons left and right on the sides of the cards. You got to try and connect them up like dominoes and do kind of like the most logical thing to deal damage to your opponent and to like gain momentum. So the momentum lets you use like your finishing move, and damage is like shown in the form of you draw these cards from this deck, but you place them face up, which has got like this damage icon on it. The more cards in your damage deck, some moves you play ask players to like roll a dice to try and reverse them, but they're rolling against the amount of damage cards they've got. So if they've got more damage cards, moves are more likely to work on them. So you've basically got this thing where you're trying things out. As people get more and more wearied and damaged, they're hitting the big moves. We were just trying to really get something going that was fun, had a level of strategy to it and a level of luck. It's not like really deep, complex.
Did you create the rules yourself, or did Tinkerbell?
Yeah, me and Bevan worked on them together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I came in with the initial stuff, and Bevan was like helping me then, and we both worked on together. But we really wanted that ebb and flow and like rhythm of a wrestling match, where it starts, people are feeling themselves out, and then it's just like chaos towards the end. And we've played it hundreds of times now, probably.
Yeah, well,
maybe 100 times. And yeah, it always tends to work out. The dice do a really good thing as well with the way we've laid out, like where those dice rolls. Like when you go for a pin, for all the wrestling fans, when you go to the ref will count 1, 2, 3. So you get when you count 1, you roll 1 dice, and then on 2 you get to roll 2. And then on 3 you get to roll 3, and you get to like keep and hold dice if you want to, And again, you're rolling against your damage. But what you get this thing where as you're counting down for this pin, it does get quite tense. And then if you get lucky and they kick out right at the last moment, you stand up,
Oh, okay, nice.
It's great, yeah. So yeah, it's fun.
Bevan's good people. Like he's done stuff for Geek Pride. Yeah, he's done stuff for Geek Pride for a long time, and he's like super nice as well. Really enthusiastic, very helpful as well.
Because I deal with his wife now because I help out with some beta reading for Gemma.
Oh, nice.
And they're both nice people. They're really are
people.
Such nice people. Yeah.
So I was more coming from the wrestling side and obviously card game fan side, and Bevan was, he had designer shops to help me out and really like guide it, and it gave some really great ideas. And so yeah, it's been the two of us just play testing the hell out of it.
Yeah, he's been
on Kickstarter.
So how is the Kickstarter going? Because it's been on for a couple of weeks now.
I get an accurate figure. It's funded, so it's happening.
Oh, nice. Okay,
congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Right, we are. It's got 15 days left. I had to cut it 2 days short because I'm I'm to leave the country to go on holiday. I didn't want to be.
I'm gonna leave the country with all your money.
That sounded pretty bad.
I can leave early.
Leave the country to go on holiday, and I'll be back into the country a week later with all the money. But yes, it's 220% funded at the moment.
Wow.
We've hit our. It's going to be a small print run, probably, regardless. We'll get it to the people who want it, and then we'll make a few more so we can sell them afterwards. Proper indie game. We've hit a few stretch goals, so we've just added like a new feature that we did play test, but we didn't put it into like the prototype, where you can optionally choose at the start of the match one of 6 like managers, and you can call upon them once per match to like do nefarious. Well, sometimes they're nice things, but like distract the referee.
Okay, cool.
A weapon.
All right, nice.
That's their business. So we just added that, and I think the last stretch goal is going to be because the move deck is there's about 90 move cards in there, but obviously you can't have a wrestling match with just one elbow strike. You've got to have some doubles in there. So the last stretch goal, I'll go back into the art. I've drawn like 50 new pieces of art. Really try to tie it in with the comics, but I'll go in and I'll just draw even more art so that there's like less doubles in the deck and stuff.
Have you done your sort of like where's it being are Tinkerbot games looking at the logistics behind it, the making it, and sort of all the
they're taking care of all of that really. So I've been involved, but I've run my own stuff where I've had to print stuff. I sort of run like a micro publisher for comics, but these are small comic books, and the Kickstarter before this was the DIY version of my GWA book, which I had to sort the printing out myself. Used like a great printer in Estonia. It was amazing. It looks so lavish. There's all sorts going on there.
We when we were kids, like we used to have a weekly sort of game. I'm one of the guys. They're called the Lawsons. Like we used to live down the road, and the older brother John. So we used to play we used to play Hero Quest, and we play 40K, and then we play Talisman, and we played, and once we started running out of games, he started making his own, and one of the ones that always stuck with me, he made this wrestling game, and it was all weird. It was kind of like, we had like, he drew it out, and we all had our own little characters and stuff, and we had power bars basically, and you could get a steel chair and it did X amount of damage depending, and you could go in and out of the ring, but if you went out of the ring you could get counted out and things, and it just sort of reminds me of sort of like, having this sort of kind of like wrestling game that he created himself, and it always stuck with me.
Yeah, that's also. I mean, there's a few more now, but there was when we started doing this, there were no like great wrestling card games, so that was where it came from. Was I wanted to play one, and most of them there was stuff from the 80s that was kind of like would get advertised in the back of wrestling magazines, but they were more like in depth and more like wrestling management type things.
The small ads in the back of the
weird like mailing games, and then there was stuff like the WWE and WCW had their own games, but they were either like collectible card games, or they were too much like party games, and they weren't like legit a wrestling experience, and since we've, obviously, as probably happens anytime anyone does anything, by the time the game's actually out, there are like a couple of other wrestling games that which is great, because it needs to be done. You want to
series full of flattery.
Well, I don't think they knew about us to imitate us, but maybe so it's great that you can actually and obviously everyone's experience of wrestling and like the way they interpret it is different, so it's great that there's actually like a way to play these now. I bet your friend's game was awesome.
Yeah, but you know what? Like thinking about it, he used to make loads of games, and I just remember like really vividly. I even remember like he'd draw the ring out, and he'd sort of kind of given us little character sheets and stuff to sort of, and we'd roll dice depending on what would happen and what we would sort of kind of do in the ring and things. Like we were very young when we did it, so this was easily sort of 35 years ago or something like that, but like I just remember it sort of like because we were all into wrestling at the time, WWF, and sort of like, so he made this wrestling game, and I just remember sort of like using a steel chair to hit somebody with it and like sort of knocking their power down and things, and
it's timeless. I fell out of wrestling, like I said, when I was a teenager, and I always kept playing the games. And then I got back into it. I was talking early on about making this film with my friend Johan Morris, the writer. He got me back into wrestling when I started making these comics. So the comics were born from my love of wrestling games, really. That's why it's more backstage stuff than wrestling. It's the aesthetic and the vibe. But I got back into it. I never looked back.
Yeah, there was a game.
Beautiful form.
Yeah, there's a game.
You all need to get involved.
There's a game that was out, like I'm assuming it was on the Amiga and stuff as well. It's like an old school game. It was called Rockstar Ate My Hamster, and it was basically a game where you had to manage a rock band, and it wasn't about the sort of the music and stuff like that. You had to manage this rock band and get them famous and things like that. And it was sort of like, it sort of reminds me of that, because it was all the backstage type stuff. It wasn't the sort of
dream, man. I'd love to make like a life simulator, like PC game of wrestling, where you just let them get these wrestlers to the top. But what was cool about the card game was because I never draw any real. There's a bit of wrestling in the book, but hardly any. I was thinking about. Oh, go on. Sorry.
You could do, because they did a Blood Bowl team manager game and stuff, which was card based.
Yeah.
You could do that with the wrestling thing. Technically, couldn't you? Could
do an add-on. There's a game called Bucket, which is about is a card game about booking like a wrestling promotion. That sounds quite good. I've got that on TTS.
TTS is awesome. TTS is a really good, it's such a good idea. Like, we play a lot of games on it now. When we can't, because we got to
prototype this on it. For a month before we printed it.
Yeah, it's really good for like creating games and stuff. Like we do our Blood Bowl. We've got a Blood Bowl league, and if people can't make the actual physical games because of #life, we just play it over Tabletop Simulator, and it's an awesome, really good idea.
Perfect.
Right. Okay. We've gone on for a fair bit, and I don't want it to sort of kind of drag on too much longer. And I don't want to have to shed loads of editing afterwards and stuff. So just on the off chance my internet goes down, so we're going to finish off with our completely unique pop quiz type sort of section that we did not steal from anybody. But yeah, the guys from the Straight Shoot, a wrestling podcast, and their TikTok, they've got a similar one for wrestling. Our one is for geek culture stuff. So the way the game is played is we're each going to think of a character within a geeky franchise. Could be Star Wars, could be Dune, could be Star Trek, could be, it could be wrestling if you want it to be wrestling. So you pick a franchise, you think of a character, and then that we have to guess that character within 60 seconds by asking you questions.
So it's 20 questions. Basically.
Well, kind of without it being 20 questions. It's literally you've got 60 seconds to sort of find out who that person is, basically, and stuff. So, who would like to start?
Franchise.
Which franchise are you going to go for? Anybody can go for it. Otherwise, I'll think of one quickly. What sort of things are you into before? Because obviously, it has to be something you know.
Well, are you all playing, or is it just me?
Yeah, everybody. So we'll all think of one. So we're all going to think of one. Like, we've had a lot of we've had a lot of Star Wars. We've had a lot of Star Trek. We've had a lot of.
I can do Star Wars, Star Trek. I can do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ooh, Turtles! I don't think we've done the Turtles.
They'll be fine.
Okay, right. Okay. We had a soundbite from I can't remember his name now. Created the Turtles, drew the Turtles.
Eastman or Lade.
Yes, Eastman. Yeah, Kevin Eastman. We met him, and he did a sort of a Geek Pride intro for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Kevin Eastman. Anyway, okay, we'll start with you then, sir. Josh, what franchise are you hitting us with?
Oh, right. Okay, so it's gonna be easy now. I didn't realize. Star Trek.
So Star Trek, okay. So you've got a character in your mind, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Before we start, we have had Lieutenant Barkley twice, so it can't be Lieutenant Barkley. Okay. All right, just so we've had him twice. Okay, so.
We've got 60 seconds to get in.
We've got
them.
We've got to guess who the character is by asking you questions
in 60 seconds.
In 60 seconds, right? Please don't be too obscure. Okay, so so Star Trek, 60 seconds, go. Okay, original series?
No.
Generation?
No.
Croatia?
Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Okay.
Are they part of the Federation?
No.
Are they
Oh,
Cardassian?
Oh. No. No, they're
Ooh.
not.
Okay.
Are they
The
liaison
Federation?
with Deep Space Nine?
No.
So no to Federation, no to Cardassian, or just no to Federation?
No to Federation and no to Kardash and no to Liaison as well.
Oh
Okay.
God!
Are they on board Deep Space Nine?
Yes.
Is it Garrick?
Oh, no.
Are they?
Is he Cardassian?
Is that the Ferengi?
No,
Quark.
Garrett
Are they
is the
Ferengi? Is it
Cardassian
Quark? Is it Quark?
Yes. Is he? No. It's
Is
not
it? Is he a?
Quark,
Is he a
Ferengi.
Ferengi?
Rob.
Nog.
Is it Ron?
Yes, it's Ron.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like
My
to say
favourite
that was a team
character.
effort there. Okay. That was a team effort.
11.
Cool. Right. Nice one. Okay. Right. Pete. Mark.
Hello. Yes, I've got one.
Okay. What is it?
Sandman.
Oh,
Because I just
interesting.
watched it and I absolutely loved that
Oh,
series.
so good. So good. Okay. So.
I haven't actually watched Sandman, so I'm going to have to opt out.
Watch it now. Go away and
I've
watch
only
it now.
seen it. I never read the comics.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just watched it. I haven't read the comic. I've dabbled in the comics, but I've watched it. It's really good.
I
Okay.
will recuse myself.
You're out.
Okay.
Recused.
So Sandman, 60 seconds. Go. Okay. Are they one of the entities, sort of like Sandman?
Endless. Endless. No.
Are they? Sorry, no. Are they a sort of a supernatural power, like
No.
No. Ooh, okay.
Are they alive in the present day in Sandman?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So it's not. It's not
Are
like.
they a human?
Yes.
So it's
Are
not.
they female?
Yes.
Are
Is
they the Vortex?
No.
Are they Joanna Constantine?
Yes.
Ah,
What's that? What's
Well
that?
played,
That's
sir.
a week ago.
very
Yeah.
good.
I say it could be her or could be a great grandmother.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Mark, what's yours?
I'm going to go with an easy one. I'm going to go with Star Trek.
Okay, Star Trek, another Star Trek one. Okay.
Wrong.
Okay, so Star Trek, 60 seconds. Go.
Is it Lieutenant Barclay?
Okay, original series.
No.
Voyager.
Yes.
Voyager.
I've never seen Voyager.
Okay.
Federation.
Sorry?
Are the Federation?
Yes. And no.
Mm,
Are there a recent acquisition in the quadrant?
Yes.
Okay. Is it 7 or 9?
I was going to say something,
Okay.
right? God, my
The
Voyager
Cook.
knowledge is...
Yeah, I've got a bit of Voyager trivia for you after this. It ties into wrestling. but
Is it the
that's about
Cook?
Sorry?
The Cook.
No, it's not Neelix.
Is he a hologram? Is it a hologram? No.
it.
Not the Doctor then. Okay, that's 60 seconds.
Were they part of the Maquis?
No.
Oh.
I don't even have a question because my Voyager knowledge is shit.
Is it The Rock?
correct.
Is it the character played by the Dwayne Johnson in one episode?
No,
of
it was not the
Voyager?
wrestler. No, it wasn't the super. No, it was actually Icheb.
Oh, sorry?
Icheb.
Who said
So you were
Cheb?
close to 7 Noma. Icheb was one
Sorry.
of the Borgs. Was one of the Borg children that they adopted who became
Right.
Ah.
And I was really
Didn't get
hoping
that
one of you
far.
was going to ask if he was in Picard as well, because obviously he was in the first couple of episodes. He was in the first episode and got killed.
Oh, he was
yeah.
also in Picard. What's his name?
That's
Begins-
what he was in. He was in the early part of Picard series 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't Hugh. He was the other
Hugh.
guy.
Hugh was in Picard, wasn't he? Hugh's
He
in
was
Picard.
there.
He
Yeah.
was
He was
also
represented.
featured. He'd had all his implants removed.
Yeah.
Icheb was one of the reasons that 7 of 9 came into Picard.
Ah,
because
right.
Because she'd gone looking for him when he was kidnapped as an officer, because there was a black market in Borg implants,
Borg implants.
and they'd extracted his implants while he was still alive, and she didn't manage to save him.
Is Voyager worth watching?
You're
not for me.
You're muted, Mark. I can't hear you.
Mark's just
Talking away.
silent and then just
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was fiddling with the headset and kind of hit the mute button.
Yeah.
Yes, Voyager is worth watching, but bear in mind the first season is very uphill. It's one of those ones they found themselves about a third the way into series 2.
Yeah. Well, DS9 is great, but it only gets good when he's got that beard.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, the start of Deep
it's
Space
wild,
Nine, I was a
yeah.
bit sort of like, not sure about
The thing
this.
is, Avery Brooks got into the swing of it when they let him have more control over the character, because he wanted to come in
Full.
bald and stuff, but
Yeah,
they
just
made him white man it down a bit.
All right.
He's great, though.
So what am I gonna go for? Okay. I think I'm gonna go Warhammer again.
That's me out then.
Warhammer. Yeah,
Or
I'm out.
if it's, I'll have to do one that everybody can have a go at and stuff, because they'll literally just be Mark getting it and stuff. Okay. I will then go for where am I going to go for? I will go for, what have I been watching recently that I can sort of use? No, because that's going to be way too obvious. Okay, we're going to go for Star Wars, and we're going to go for, let me just think. We're going to go for... Okay, right, all right. Okay, Star Wars.
Okay.
Okay, so let me just do my thing. Okay, so... let me just check here. Just so I remember this. Okay, yeah, all right, okay.
Are they in Rogue One?
Okay, wait, bear with me 1 minute. So Star Wars, 60 seconds, go.
Are they in Rogue One?
Oh shit, are they in Rogue One? I'm gonna say no for now, and I'm just gonna quickly check just to make sure.
Are they in the films?
They are in the films, yes.
Are they
in the
in
original?
Empire Strikes Back?
They are in Empire Strikes Back.
Are they
only in Empire Strikes Back?
No,
Are they in the sequel trilogy?
they are not in the sequel trilogy.
Are they in the prequel trilogy?
No, they're not in the prequel trilogy.
Do they also appear in Return of the Jedi?
Yes.
Do they appear in New Hope as well?
They're not in New Hope.
Okay.
Is it Yoda?
No, they're not in Rogue One. They're not in Rogue One.
Right. Okay.
Are they Are they one of the mercenaries?
They're not one of the mercenaries.
Are they Empire?
They are not Empire.
Do they work for Jabba?
No, they're rebels.
Okay, the rebels.
Is
okay.
it Admiral Akbar?
It is Admiral Akbar. It's a
he is
trap.
Oh no,
It's
is
a trap.
his dad or something? Is in New Hope? Who's in New Hope?
His
He's
son.
not.
No,
His son,
he's not
is
in A
it?
New Hope. His son's in
Isn't there a
in the
fish head
sequel
in the New
trilogy.
Hope?
No, I don't think it's not him. It's not
Right.
there's another Mon Calamari.
Yeah.
He's in
That's it.
Empire and
Jet.
Return.
Yeah, in Return. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, is he in Rogue One? Because I'm not sure, because it's a different squad.
Yeah, surely, yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be in-
it's not in Rogue One apparently, so it's just so yeah. So I was just I was like shit, because it's been so long since I've seen it. I'm just like, and it's my favorite Star Wars film. It's like I should know this, but no, it's not.
Right.
Cool, awesome. There we go. That's the pop quiz done. Brilliant. So Josh, have you got anything? You sort of obviously tell us about the Kickstarter one last time, where people can see it, what they're going to get, websites, things like that you sort of kind of want to pinpoint.
Okay. The Glorious Wrestling Alliance UltraBrawl is the card game. It's on Kickstarter up until the 27th of September. You can find it by searching for Glorious Wrestling Alliance UltraBrawl on Kickstarter, or you can go to find me on Twitter, Josh Hicks. or Instagram. You can find all sorts of links there. Or go to cpebooks.co.uk and you can find any book or card game that I've made is up on there. One card game, like $3.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Please do let us, when it's finished and stuff. By all means, come back on when you've got an.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're more than welcome. Just come back on for a chat and stuff. We're always looking for
a wrestling centric one. Maybe we'll do a signed wrestling viewership or something. I'll send you some matches you have to all watch, and then we can talk about them.
Okay, I'll see if I can get something on there.
The most sci-fi wrestling matches ever.
Give Straight Shoot a go. Even if you just check out their check out their TikTok and stuff, because their TikTok videos are really Moorish. It's just literally just them doing the same thing as we've just done, but with wrestlers and stuff, which is. It's really good. But yeah, thanks very much, everybody. Apologies again for the technical difficulties, but I will get this all edited and hopefully online with it in the next couple of days. But for tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Peter Ray Ellison.
Good night, everyone.
Mark Canty.
Yeah.
And Josh Hicks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
It's all.